Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Bridging Beliefs podcast. And today we have a special guest with us. But first of all, Nevaeh. My name is Sam Mesh, and I pastor at UMC. And we have a special guest. Her name is Miss Bourgeois, or maybe some of y'all would know her by that, or some of y'all would know her by Andrea Bourgeois. Just a little information to help Miss Andrea, to help y'all know Miss Andrea. She's an author, a teacher, wife, a mother, our neighbor. She's written many books, and she's good at what she does. I'll put it to you that way. She's good at what she does. She's a great teacher. All right, say hello.
Hello. I'm so glad and honored to be a part of y'all's podcast.
Yep.
Well, we're welcome to have you, and we're great to have you.
Okay. I kind of want to start this off by...
You want to start the question off?
Okay,
Yep.
I have a question
go
that's
ahead.
not on the talk. I just want to ask you how your week's been.
Oh.
Our last thing was on Saturday. A lot can change since last Saturday. Has anything happened?
Are we talking about me specifically?
No, like any of y'all. I actually have something that happened to me today that is very exciting.
Okay, let's start off with Miss Bourgeois.
Yeah.
Let's go around.
The older you get, the more you enjoy home time. And some
For
exciting
sure.
things this week. We just got to spend a good weekend at home, and everybody's well.
That's
So,
perfect.
That's good, especially...
That's
No
great.
sickness.
I recently asked out Ashlyn. She's in the room. Y'all won't be able to see her yours, but she's in the room. And Nevaeh, what about you?
I got a call back from the place that I interviewed at, and I actually am currently hired and have a job now.
Let's go.
Congrats.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll understand how big of a deal that is. Would you mind telling them how long you've been trying to
Literally since September of since before over a year actually. But I really started hard applying as soon as I turned 16 in September. So I've applied to this place actually 3 times.
And so where are you
The snowball
employed?
stand. Yeah, the snowball stand.
Awesome.
All right, so I have some introductory questions for you, Miss Andrea.
Okay.
What is it like being a daughter, a sister, a wife, a mother, a teacher, and an author that follows God?
It's a great, interesting, fun experience because there's lots of many hats that I get to wear throughout the day.
Oh, really?
And it's very humbling. And being a wife and mother have really pushed me to seek God in a much bigger way than I ever imagined.
So I think I'd like to kind of dig into a little bit the fact that you have a child, right? So how is getting to teach a child the power of God and the will of God? How has that been?
It is incredible.
Really?
It is. It's so fun to look at their way of experiencing life and to see things from that childlike perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of that. That's how God wants us to have faith in Him.
Yeah.
And it's just been really fun for me to be able to incorporate God in daily activities and things that we're learning. And it also holds me accountable. So that way I'm the same person. I have integrity not only at home with him, but also at school with y'all.
Definitely.
Or just out and about with my friends and that sort
So
of
it's
thing.
been an amazing experience. I'm glad.
Mhm.
I'm really glad to see that there are people. This guy.
Thank you so much for telling us, because I would not have noticed.
There you go.
Okay.
Fixed.
Sorry about that, guys.
Life isn't exactly the most eloquent
Glamorous.
thing to do, but
Hey, it's good.
we get there.
Yep.
All right, let's you want to do number 2?
I actually have a question that's not on here actually.
Okay.
Have you
go ahead.
ever wearing all those hats throughout the day? Have you ever found yourself struggling to balance all of it and how to balance kid, job, and still leave time for God in your life?
This is a constant conversation. This is a good question.
I know. That was good.
Constant conversation between my friends and I. First and foremost, surround yourself with people that are like-minded, and you got to pick friends who are also investing in their relationship with Christ, so therefore you can encourage one another. But mostly, if I don't have my time with the Lord first thing in the morning, my whole day doesn't go as planned, and or it's just harder to wear all those hats. I find that when I take time away from being a mom and being a wife and being a teacher and just a daughter and a friend and all of those things, and I take time to just be alone with my Creator and allow Him to speak to me and work in me and teach me things that I need to work on about myself, everything just falls into place, and it's a much easier position because I don't have to do it.
Yeah.
It's like He provides for me in all of those areas.
Definitely. So I've been around the church for a very long time, and I've been going to the church ever since I was born. And a lot of churches, especially Baptist churches that I go to, like First Moss Bluff, they always preach community. How exactly did you find your community?
My community?
Because I feel like a lot of people nowadays have a bunch of like issues with finding their exact community to fit into a church.
Yeah.
I would first pray for the Lord to guide your steps to that community and to who He wants you to be a part with, to do life with. My husband and I, we have a group of friends. We have a small group that we're a part of. It is very diverse in the like religious realm, I guess you could say. And that is, I know we're going to talk on some unity here today, but our small group is, it's a very, to me, it's what heaven is like, because we have people from all different denominations, and these are people that the Lord has put in our life to do life with. And so if someone is looking for a community, I would tell them to pray and ask the Lord to put those people in their life, because He naturally guided our families 100%. Together. And then I would not be afraid to like go to a Bible study. Don't be afraid to go to an event with like-minded people. That's a very good
thing you say that, because people are very afraid of that confrontation with other, like-minded people, because I feel like you come into the church with all this baggage, right? You come in with like stuff you're dealing with. Maybe you have bad parents at home. Maybe you don't have parents. Maybe it's just something you're dealing with, right? And I feel like it's really hard to like go in there and tell these people that, let's be real, you maybe only see one time a week, and just tell them the things that you're dealing with,
and mostly when you step into a place like that, you'll learn that everybody is just like you, that everyone is dealing with the same things. Everyone has a struggle. Everyone looks at themselves and doesn't like things about themselves. Everyone compares themselves. Everyone wants to be loved and cherished and wants to find someone to spend their afternoons with or their evenings with, or they want to set goals that seem far-fetched in the future. Every single person is thinking the same thing. And once we can get over that fear, then you realize like, okay, maybe I can like learn something from these people.
For sure.
Yeah, and I can actually like have like a small personal story on that. Is like whenever Sam invited me to the youth group, I was so nervous because I don't like meeting new people. I spoke about this like on the test podcast that we did. The first ever like youth group I had gone to, I was like forced into it by like a boyfriend I had. He walked in and was like, yeah, you're coming to church with us on Wednesday. And it was just like very, very like put in your face. It was a Pentecostal church. So it was like going from 0 to 100. And then and so I was very scared about that happening again. But I honestly think like me being like, you know what, if I don't like it, I'm just not going to go again. And I ended up loving it. And now I do the Bible study. I help with devotionals. I am helping on the Easter stuff. And I've met great people.
Yeah, if you can go into those different denominations, like if you get invited to something, and if you're one that's not plugged in somewhere and you go somewhere that you've never been before, if you go with an open mind and ask the Lord, like, you're calling me to this, someone's invited me, help me be at ease, help me be open minded to what you're trying to show me here. And it may not be a fit, but you can.
It doesn't hurt to try.
It doesn't hurt to try because you never know where the Lord is going to speak to you and where you're going to fit in.
Yeah.
So, mind if did you have something to respond? Because I'm going to move on to the second question. Could you tell us, like, a bit more about, like, where you're at with God? Like,
what the Lord has taught me recently in the last, I'd say 6 months to a year, is how important unity is among his body of Christ, and what it means to rest, like to break away from the hustle and bustle of life and find that secret little nook where you're with him and he's trying to show you parts of him that when we're too busy we're not gonna learn, and we're not gonna know that side of him. And to he's taught me that I need to be present. Just back to being a mom or a wife, like I have to be focused on my family when I'm home. I can't be like in 5 other places.
Yeah.
Like work is done. I'm here and I've got to invest in these few hours that I have with this little boy because this is all I get every day. And he's teaching me to have that childlike faith that he has, and that he is much bigger than I ever imagined. The Lord is out of a box, and I kept him in a box for so many years. And resting in him, I'm learning things about him that blow my mind every day.
Where do you feel like God's leading you towards? Like, what path do you think you're on right now that God is leading you on?
That's a good question.
Just knowing him at a deeper level and understanding what it means to be the bride of Christ in this time of the society that we're in and the time frame and where we fall in biblical history.
Definitely.
I don't know what path. He just has me drawing closer to him and taking leaps of faith, not having any idea of like where it's going to go, but just believing that he's preparing a way.
I feel like, so I'm just going to add something that we'll get to the next question. But I feel like for my life, it seems like I've been on such a rocky road, definitely. Ever since I lost my dad, I haven't really had a clear path until now. Mm-hmm. God hasn't showed me like where I'm headed. And now I feel like I know where I'm going. I just don't know how I'm going to get there.
Yeah. I think there's different seasons, and definitely. The Lord will allow us to enter into a season when he knows we're ready. And maybe it took up until now for you to be open and willing and ready for the season that he's called you to, or the journey. Mm-hmm. I know that into 21 and 22, the Lord called me to write books. I still like to write, but I know that right now I'm in a season of rest and like just quiet, enough to where, it's listening to what he wants next. So yeah, I would just encourage you to keep going forward.
Definitely.
and seeking him and what each step looks like, and just know that it's going to be a wild ride, but when you finally get to that point in your life when you're ready to make those wild steps for the Lord, like that's when things actually happen and you see his grace.
Oh, that's great. Would you mind saying the third one?
Oh, right.
Yeah, third introduction.
Okay. What would you say one of the biggest challenges are that you see in your teaching career with teens and in following God?
What are my biggest challenges that I see in like the students, or
yes,
challenges for me?
In the students, in particular that
students.
you teach every day to day, what are the challenges that they're personally, that you see that maybe they could use some guidance in following Jesus?
I feel like a lot of students don't know who they are in the identity with Christ. They don't know that they're loved and cherished by the creator of God. Like, they don't get it. They haven't tapped into that. So they're seeking approval and love from all the wrong places. I see there is, like it was when I was in school, but now it's even more so, where you got one foot loving the Lord and the other foot's loving the world, and you're teetering that line very carefully because you want to be cool, but you want to love Jesus, so you don't know your place. I see that. I feel like what I have seen, because not only have I kind of did like my own little ministry thing, but one of my best friends is a licensed counselor, and we have a thing called Holy Restored, and we go and speak at retreats and different things. And what we find the most is that mental health and Jesus need to collide because he's the missing link. And so many people are listening to the negative thoughts. And when they realize the creator of those negative thoughts, it's the enemy, it's the devil. He is trying to tear us down. That's his number one goal. And when students realize that, and when they can like understand how much they've given him access to their thought process and to their future by buying into the lies, then I guess they can see God, because before that they can't see him because they're just crowded with all the mess that he's throwing at them. So I'd say a lot of students battle with their thoughts.
I would actually like some thoughts on that real quick.
Okay.
So I used to battle with like a lot of mental health issues. That's where I think I've talked about it on the drive test, but a couple years back, I had thoughts of, killing myself. It was something that I dealt with very deeply, and I'm lucky to come out of it unscathed, and I'm not gone, luckily. But what would you say to someone who has those thoughts and those challenging thoughts that they battle with the devil every day in those thoughts?
I would look at them and tell them that they are loved, and that the world is not a better place without them.
Definitely.
And that those are lies from the devil himself. Like, you gotta see his tactic, and you have to know that that is not what the Lord wants for your life, and that the Lord loves you, and he has created you with a purpose, and you've got to tell somebody, because if you keep that inside, no one knows. Nobody can help you when you don't say it out loud. And then the second you say it out loud to someone, you're going to realize how much distortion you were buying into by the devil.
Because I remember a certain point in my life where I would so back to kind of like my dad part of things, I never wanted to tell anyone what happened, because I was so scared of what he would do if he found out that I told someone. But I ended up telling my sister, and my sister told my mom, and we've never been back since. Do you feel like in those moments it's definitely better to have told or not?
Oh, 100% tell someone whatever is going on. You can't, first and foremost, there are someone in your life that's going to love you regardless, no matter what you've done. The Lord forgives you, so therefore that person that loves you, whether it's a family member or a guardian, they're going to love you regardless. So that thought of that I've done the unthinkable and no one will ever forgive me, that's another lie. So I think it's better to tell, because in order for you to truly understand what love is and how to receive it, you have to open up yourself and be vulnerable. And so you've got to share what's going on, and you're not alone.
Okay,
Well, since you typed it,
no, I want to say something real quick.
for sure.
I have the chat open right now. I just want to say, can we, like, this chat is for questions, or if you have anything to say, can we please keep it respectful, or else I will literally remove you. Thank you.
Oh, what's going on? Okay, I won't worry about that anymore. I didn't even look at it. I don't care. That's not what I'm here
Sorry,
for.
just
That's okay. It doesn't matter. What inspired you to write those books?
What's really funny is the book that I thought I was going to write is not the one that even got published. The one that got published was my journey with the Lord in a Bible study type form first. And then when that publisher was in the process of printing, she had seen like a summit, like an online like conference type thing we did during 2020 when the world shut down. And she saw that and told me, I want you to turn that into a book and I want to publish it. And so I contacted everyone that shared their story and we turned it into a devotional. And so I have another book that I'm writing that's more of a fictional story, kind of like Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers. If you've ever read that, there's
Very small
a story
book reader.
within that fictional story that is the love of God. And so my story is more of like what it means to be the bride of Christ. I just feel like it's important in this time, in this age, in this group of people that are with us here in the earth, that like we need to understand what this means. But yeah, the Lord just, I don't know, like he just nudged me to write, and I finally, because I didn't graduate with an English major or none of that. So I had to battle the fear of man that, oh, I can't write that, you know? I mean, who am I? No one's going to want to read that. No one's going to even think that I'm capable or have enough schooling to be able to even do something like that. And that was all just lies again. So I had to overcome.
So,
oh, and then, yeah, because when we did when the publisher asked me to do that and turn it into a devotional, we had Hurricane Laura hit, and we were driving and evacuating while I got that publishing deal and that contract. And so I had to write that with generators. I mean, so there was lots of things to overcome in that, but I just knew that he wanted those books out there. And so I was just obedient in that.
I'd like to get your thoughts on this. When people go throughout their walks of faith, do you feel like it's better to be a person who's very open about it? Because, like, I know for me personally, like, I will turn any conversation into a God conversation like that. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that?
I feel like it has to do a lot with people's personalities. I'm like that as well. I feel like any conversation I have with anyone, if I feel like it's reciprocated well, then it will automatically turn into a God story or a God talk. I can pick up pretty quickly if someone's not interested, and I'll just throw in a little bit here and there. But I think it's important to share our faith and to make sure that people know who we are, because it's a reflection. I feel like when we talk about our faith, it's a reflection of who we are. And someone who doesn't have an outgoing personality that might not feel comfortable voicing it, maybe if they, are better with texting or online, different things, they could share their faith in that way.
We also, if you want to share your faith with us, we have an email, or you can also say stuff in the chat.
This guy.
So I'm just saying, we have an email. We never said at the beginning. The email is literally bridgingbeliefspodcast@gmail.com. So if you have any questions or you need help with anything, you can text it. We'll help you.
Where do you feel teens are at today in their unity?
I feel like this generation, you've heard that saying in that scripture that we're born for such a time as this. Like, I feel like this generation is the most rebel type of generation. Definitely. That they want to break all the rules, but when it's guided into the right direction, I think it's okay. I feel like they get it that that unity is important, and that instead of sitting around arguing of who's right or who's wrong based on some doctrine that they, you all go to a church that you go to because that's the church that you believe in, or you wouldn't go, so you find the one that you feel the Lord has brought you, or you were raised in that family and your family has brought you up there. And that is the church that you hold,
So just to kind of mention this, if you didn't, here, let me, where did you put my, okay, yeah, here it is. Instead of, where at, which camera, both cameras? Anyways, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
I'm trying to keep my thoughts in like, on this,
But I to finish that question, I feel like the teens today are the most accepting when it comes to people being different. And I feel like it's this generation that's going to help break the box of different beliefs and bridging them and being able to have conversations to where you and I we may have some differences on some things that you may dissect some type of scripture or a teaching, and we have total different views on, but we don't have to focus on the negative. We can focus on the positive and what we can learn from one another, because I feel like that's important. I don't think Jesus died for us so that way we could sit around and argue. I think he wants us to learn from one another and respectfully know your boundary and know where you don't need to continue the argument if it becomes an argument over who's right or who's wrong.
Because everyone was made different for a reason.
Right.
He didn't make everyone the exact same. Everyone has a different purpose.
And I feel like there's beauty in every Christ-believing church. As long as it's Bible-based and not way out there, and you're having different, like where I do think that you have to stay within the Bible, but when you start deviating from that, that's when you have issues. But if you are focused on the Bible and you have those different faiths that are very strong in that, I feel like there's beauty. There's beauty in the Catholics and the Baptists and the Methodists and the Pentecostal and the non-denominationals and the more prophetic. There is beauty in every single one.
The way I look at it is when Christians kind of I say I'm a Christian, that means, okay, someone will ask me, so which religion inside of the Christianity are you? And I'll be like, I don't really know. Because, I just follow the Bible because there's so many different teachings of the way I look at different religions, like Baptist, Roman Catholic, is they're just different learning styles of the Lord, in my opinion. I know some people definitely don't share that opinion. I know some people are like, this way is the only way and it should be this way for ever. But I feel like if you just follow what the Bible says, because the Bible is where all of Christianity comes from, I feel like that is such an amazing tool to just follow and lead your life on. Because for the last 2 months, I've been on an amazing journey, trying to minister to people and tell people the word of God. That it's been a very key thing in my life to realize what I think about the different variations. Mm-hmm. So what do you personally think about that?
I think that's great that you have the confidence and that you have the desire to want to get your opinions out there, and you want to get your perspective out there and to encourage other people to do the same. I just feel like everyone's on their own journey with the Lord, and he is going to put you in positions and situations to put you outside of your box and to get you out of your comfort zone. And it's just to expand your knowledge of him and to trust him. I don't know. I just think it's important that we can come together from different faiths and focus on Jesus and what he did for us, and understand that because of him and because of his death, we are free, and that we should no longer want to be participating in those activities that we used to do before we loved the Lord or before we served him, that we would want to honor him and serve him because that's the right thing to do, because that's our heart should long to want to do that. And so I don't know, I just think it's when you can all look at each other and really like see Christ in all of your friends or all the different people that you know are passing and having conversations with, you're getting to see what God created in that person and pull that out of them. And I think that that's a great thing. And I'm proud of you for that.
Thank you. So I would just like to, one last opinion type of sort of question. When you first got asked to be on here by me, what did you think?
I would love to do it.
What was your like opinion on like, I'd say more of like the Lord Christ like setting? What do you think people were going to get out of it from you?
I don't know. I think that there are some that are probably going to watch this that know me as Miss Bourgeois, and they know me from the classroom.
Definitely.
And they're like, whoa, I didn't know she talked so freely about Jesus. Or there's some in class that know that I always throw in little bits of Jesus all the time. And, you know, I don't know. I feel like the Lord puts situations like this for myself or for anyone else that you get to have on as a guest, just to proclaim him and what he's done in our life, and to encourage other people that my life didn't start until I truly started seeking him. And it has been the best, most wild ride ever, and I wouldn't change any of it.
Me neither.
And it's living in the world and doing everything that the world claims is the right way or the fun way, or the, you know, you're going to miss out if you don't do the X, Y, and Z. It's all counterfeit. And when you dive all in and you're all in with Jesus, that's the real deal. And I don't know. There's no regrets there.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I could come on and talk about all sorts of lovely topics. So anytime.
I feel like Miss Bourgeois will definitely be a reoccurring guest on here.
I feel like for sure after we have like our first couple of like other than you type guests, I feel like for sure we got to get you back on.
Yeah, because I love.
Yeah, so much can happen like in like a week, a day, like minutes could like change your life.
And
like,
too, like if you have the people that watch, you know, that watch and want to discuss hard topics, anything in the mental health world, I don't mind answering questions in that. I feel very passionate that we've got to talk more about that, because it's been hushed and silenced for way too long. I feel like the stigma is out now. More churches are providing more mental health support groups. Definitely. And counseling and stuff like that. So I do feel like it is merging, and it's, you know, it's not as taboo, I guess, to be like, I love Jesus, but I'm depressed. Like that used to be like something that couldn't be. But I do feel like it's starting to, I don't know, evolve into more of a conversation.
Definitely. And you know, I talk about it a lot. I talk about like, you know, my previous bad happenings, you know, everything bad that's happened in my life. There's so much good that I haven't talked about that I feel like goes unheard of for some people, for sure, because I hear a lot of people, they're always talking about the negative, right?
Yeah.
That's what, you know, us as humans, we're like constantly drawn to the negative side of things. That I feel like there's got to be some room for the space of godly word and like.
Well,
positive.
I think for so long people live in the victimhood mentality, and instead the Lord wants them to live in the leadership area where it's leadership with him. Like he is calling the shots and he is guiding your steps. Whereas when you live in the victimhood world, everything is done to you. you're wronged, and then, you're the victim in every single situation. And so you don't grow because you blame everything on everyone else, and you don't take ownership for your thoughts or your feelings or your actions. And when you step into more of a leadership role with the Lord guiding you, those negative thoughts don't have as much power.
I feel like for me it's definitely been the last 3 months of kind of my life, or 2 months of my life. It's definitely been more of a leadership role for me in Christ. I've definitely had times where I've had to be a follower of Christ.
Right. What I mean, leadership,
meaning
he's the guy. He's
no, yeah,
leading.
he's the guy talking through you.
Right.
But I've also had like very many times where I have to sit there and listen, because there's so many people who know way more about the Bible than I do that I'm in awe of them, honestly. And I'm so grateful to have people who believe around me. And so I feel like it's a special place to be in.
Yep.
When you're
there was a sermon that I listened to, and he changed all my thoughts when it came to preparing to speak at like an event. Jesus he doesn't want me so focused on my speech or my lesson. He wants me focused on him, and he wants me so in tuned with him that if there is a message that he wants to speak through me, he'll have it come out in that my focus is him, period. That I don't need to be so caught up in, I need to make sure that this talk hits all these key points, and I need a cookie cutter lesson or all of that. Like, that's being a listener and listening to God and following him and what he wants to say. You're gonna, you don't have to prepare. I mean, yes, you need, you have some talking notes, you have some points and stuff, but when you're really seeking him, and you're sitting at his feet, it makes me think of the Mary and Martha story, where Martha is so busy and she is preparing and cleaning and getting all these things ready, and Jesus is there and Mary's just sitting at his feet, and Martha's like, Jesus, are you going to tell her to help me? And he's like, no, she has done the one thing that is right, and I'm not going to take that away from her, and it's that she is sitting at my feet. And that's, I feel like, anyone who is called to a relationship with Christ, we have to get to that place where we realize that is where we need to be, is at his feet. Whether you're a leadership role, if you're a podcast host, whether you are preaching, all of that is important, and it's great, and it's for his kingdom. But are you at his feet? Because that's where he's gonna speak.
I've actually been asking myself that a lot lately. Am I doing what God wants, right? Not what my own self wants to do. And so I'd actually have a example. A couple of weeks ago, I did a sermon for my Tuesday Bible studies, and I wasn't or a couple weeks ago, sorry. I did a sermon for my Tuesday's Bible study thing, and I created a thing, but I didn't feel so strongly about it. It wasn't, I feel like I didn't do it for God. I feel like I did it just to get through with it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that wasn't something where I want to be. I want to go in there and I want to put it through God's filter,
Mm-hmm. I think that's important. Yeah. And, I dealt with this. The Lord was calling me into some type of ministry, and I didn't know what it was. And so I felt like I had to do all these things because all these people were saying that you had to do it all this way. And then I learned very quickly that all that is a bunch of mess and a bunch of hogwash, and you don't have to listen to any of those people. Exactly. You do what the Lord tells you to do.
I feel like I definitely have taken the route that nobody would ever expected me to take, right? I do podcasts, I do, Wednesdays and Tuesdays, and I feel like there's many people in my own personal life who would have never seen me doing what I'm doing today.
I feel like that's definitely a big thing for me too, because no one ever expected me, out of all people, especially with my past, to be religious. Mm-hmm. I've had some of my old friends, I went and blasted this podcast. I was like, go listen to it, go watch it. They were like, what's it about? I was like, oh, it's about religion and God. And they're like, you're doing that, you're religious? And I'm like, yeah, I also do the Bible study and all this stuff. And they're like, I would have never thought that you, out of all people, would be not only just believing in him in general, but also being so open about it, because I'm very like a very what's it called, like personal. I don't want to say personal,
like
private
introvert
person.
or private.
Private, that's the word I was looking for. I'm a very private person when it comes to like emotions and such.
Well, because you're a new creation in Christ, and He has given you this inner desire to please Him and to show the world who you are now.
Yep.
So I think that is beautiful.
And I definitely have seen, like, you grow.
So many
You've grown.
good things have happened since the first day I started
You've
with
grown.
that church. Like, not just to me, but to my family, like, around me. Like, my dad got a job, and, like, I barely talk. Like, he would talk to me. My dad's had a lot of struggles, like, with addiction and such, and I know that he was having struggles with that, and he finally got a job, a good paying job. And then my mom, she went and got her lung tested. Her lungs great. She has COPD and like reoccurring pneumonia, so like she doesn't have the best health with her lungs. Her lungs great. She's healthy. She has a good immunity system. I got the job that I wanted. Like literally like 2 days after I started going is whenever I got that call for that interview. And so many great things, like so much stuff has happened. Like I've met so many.
Do you feel like it's definitely got to be God led, for sure?
Well, and you know, something that I've always seen and I've had to experience myself, and I've been able to walk along family members and friends. It's when you go all in and you surrender and you say, "Okay, Lord, I'm all in now." Like I maybe not have been all in before, but now I'm all in. You will see Him like you. It feels like you're giving up everything, but in that moment, He gives you everything back plus more. So He's giving you your job. He is helping your parents. He's, you know, it's like when you surrender,
He's rewarding
the life that you thought you were giving up to be His follower, you know, to follow Him, to say, I don't want to be that person anymore. I want to be who You've called me to. But when you do surrender, you have to let go of things. And, you know, you have to let go of things that have held you back, or thoughts that you've had, or, you know, it could be old bad habits. It could be sin in your life that, you know, you just couldn't let go of before. But when you know, I don't know, it's really cool to see when you go all in, it's like He gives everything back plus more.
Yeah, my mental health is also, like, my mindset on things has gotten so much better. Like, so much stuff that had weighed me down that I would think of, like, oh, I could have done that. I could have said that instead of, or I could have changed that, especially with what has happened, like, recently in my life with other people. It's just, like, it kind of just all went away. Like I just like randomly just like stopped thinking about it, and then I like recently I was like, wait, like I'm not sitting in my room crying over something that happened 2 months ago anymore. Like I'm so much better.
And I feel like definitely, for me, being able to see your growth, like from when I first met you, you were a bit on the fence. I'll put it to you that way. Like, you could see that you were struggling. You just didn't know. You didn't know how you were struggling.
Yeah.
Right. And whenever after this summer, and then I asked you to come to a Bible study, I've truly seen you grow in ways that I didn't even think you would. No offense, but
No,
like
it's okay.
I didn't believe it was possible. But God makes everything possible, and I'm so happy, honestly.
Yeah.
And you know, all things work together for the good for those who love the Lord. You know, like all the things that we've gone through in our past, He's able to bring them back around full circle and use it for His glory. So there's a reason why you've walked through what you've walked through, and for you too. And it's because one day there's going to be someone that you're going to have to talk to, and you're going to have to share your story and your walk, and you're going to touch their heart, and they're instantly just going to melt, and they're going to know that you are an answered prayer.
And I honestly think that God put Sam into my life. Not to sound like, but it's just like,
keep going.
if I wouldn't have met Sam, like none of this would have happened. Like I would have never gone to this church. I would have never even knew about this. I would have never gotten that job over the summer that paid for my driver's ed. I actually get my license next month.
Congrats. Yay.
I would have never done all of that, never gotten the experience that I have gotten. I think He put Sam into my life, but he knew that I wasn't ready to completely follow him. And then whenever he knew I was ready is whenever Sam invited me.
I feel like she was definitely so just like a little kind of like thing. I feel like, in my personal opinion, she was at that vulnerable state. She was ready, right? I feel like she was at that vulnerable state where she was just ready to give it up to God. And that's something that I honestly had a struggle with, because my main vulnerable state, my mom knows all too well. No, it was not the girl that I'm talking about, but it was my dad. That choice that I had to make was like it. I didn't want to make it. They can't. They can't hear her. It's.
Well, I know that they couldn't hear that, but basically, Miss Marla was saying how the Lord had him accumulate all of this technology and items that you're going to need for a podcast one day.
I didn't even know I was going to.
You've been accumulating them for the last 5 years, and then He's laid the steps for y'all, and I just think it's wonderful. I'm very proud of y'all for stepping out and just being bold and not caring like what people think. And there's going to be naysayers. There's going to be people that get on the chats and say things that they don't need to be saying, but at the end of the day, I always think back of like those people that are the negative ones. They are only negative because they see something in you that they wish they had.
There's always going to be at least one person in your life that doesn't like you, that's jealous of you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, you just have to learn to let that go, because you can't please everyone around you. And that's something I struggle with, because I definitely...
Fear of man has to be
for me
slaughtered.
personally.
I'm definitely like a people
done.
pleaser, and I try to like make everyone around me happy. And I'm like, no, I don't want to like offend this person. But like a struggle I've had recently is like realizing someone's going to be upset. Like, someone's going to be upset with you. Someone's going to create a rumor about you at school or something like that. And I know what I believe in, and I know what I did or didn't do.
Right.
So
that's the whole thing of, like, I have, like, this diagram that I always pass out at events, but it's like, what's in my control and what's out of my control. I cannot control what people think about me. I can't control their response to me. I can control what I say, and I can control my actions and my thoughts. So, I just feel like to answer that question back of what do I see that students today battle with, I'd also like to piggyback to what you're saying is the spirit of offense is huge. Everyone's offended.
Yeah.
Everyone's offended about everything.
I'm so sick of it.
You say that this is blue and they're offended that it's not because it's purple. And that's a whole nother discussion. But I believe that people get very offended, and it's like, why? Why are you offended? Is it poking a button, or is it pushing a button in you? And if it is, then take a step back and look and ask the Lord, why am I so offended about this?
And like, even like, kind of like what you're saying is like, you can be offended about something, but you can either like be mad at the person, or you can be like, hey, like, I don't really agree with that. Can you like, or like talk it out, or like see their other view. You don't have to automatically go into defensive mode.
Right.
And that's like, I know I'm part of the generation that does it, but I don't like people that are like try to shove things in your face, or like, I'm right, or like, no, you shouldn't believe in it, that's wrong. And I'm like,
yeah.
Everyone.
Well, and I think that that's important for unity to take place, is that the spirit of offense can't be there, because I can't get offended if you say something that I don't agree with. I just have to say, okay, well, I disagree, and we move on, and we just put the focus back at Jesus.
Yeah.
If you can keep your focus back at Jesus and seek him then he will iron out the kinks, and he will mend the relationships that need to be mended, and he will allow forgiveness to take place, and he'll allow situations to come that would put you in situations to where you have a podcast, or maybe you're to,
What an interesting situation to be in.
you know, I mean, like, who knows? But yeah, so I think that that's great that
Definitely.
that y'all are putting yourselves out there and doing this. I think it's wonderful.
I think so. I was in your classroom for a little bit, and you know, I've definitely seen the fact that you, like, as soon as I walk into your classroom, I feel like you believe in God.
Wait,
Like, I don't know how to describe it, but when I walk in, there's some sort of like just presence that just tells me I know she believes in God. Anyway, sorry.
I'm excited because I hope so, because I do pray in my room all the time, and I'm always walking around and praying for my students, whether they like it or not. So
No, not anymore.
Okay.
do I?
She was asking if I took her.
Yeah, I was asking if you
your
took
Yeah, he
class.
took my class last year.
Yeah, because I take her class like currently. Yeah, this year's way better.
We know.
Okay, so he's asked you all of his questions. I have questions for both of you.
I haven't.
Okay.
Have you
No,
not?
wait, we have general questions. Never mind.
Yeah, we
That's
have
fine.
general
That's
questions.
all of my questions. Now she's got questions.
Okay, so does God influence the way that you teach your students?
Yes.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's a
Really
good
want to
one.
know.
I have had some students that I know are troubled. Not just like they can't. My class is not rocket science. I mean, it's baking or nutrition. I mean, it's not rocket science. So, and I know that, and I don't expect it to be rocket science. So I know that I have students that want to take me because it's an elective, because it's fun, or they just need to graduate, and so the counselors put them in my class. So I don't take offense. I'm like, you're here, and if, I'm going to make you enjoy it, or hope you're going to enjoy it while you're with me.
I took it because I needed an elective credit, and I was like, might as well get some free food out
There
of
you
it.
go. Yeah, get free food and you get to eat. So, but I have noticed that there are times when I have students who I can sense are extremely troubled. And I pray all the time that the Holy Spirit will cue me in on someone that is really upset or dealing with some terrible thoughts. And I'm constantly seeking him in that and asking him, show me the ones that I need to have that serious conversation with so that they don't go home and hurt themselves.
I would actually seriously like to talk about that, because in my own personal life, I've wanted to tell a teacher like Miss Smith or you something along those lines, but I've always been so scared. What would you? So of course I'm in both of y'all's classes now, and I've kind of already figured out my stuff. But what would you say to someone who wants to be able to talk to their teachers, but they're scared?
You know, whether it's myself or another teacher that they find where they feel like they have that little bit of relationship to where they could say something, I would just encourage them just to say, hey, I'm having a bad day, and can I talk to you for a second, and like I've done in the past where, I mean, there's been times where the Holy Spirit pinpoints a student and I cannot get past that. I know something is happening. I have to say something, or I know it's an assignment from him to say something. And so I'll check on them, and hey, won't you come in the kitchen? I have the luxury of having 2 classrooms. So if we're in the kitchen, then I can go in my classroom, or if we're in my classroom, I go in the kitchen, and I'll just ask them, hey, are you sure you're okay? And I'll go through just a couple of things that I've noticed or why I feel that way, that there's might be something wrong. And there's been many, many times to where it is a fact that they were having suicidal thoughts. They were not okay. And we were able to seek and get them the proper help and save their life. And
I'm actually very lucky in that sense. I have 2 to 3 teachers who all are exactly like you in that manner. A teacher for my first Black and T and I, her name's Miss Allen, and she noticed for a couple of days that there was something going on with me, and there was. I was going through it wasn't really a breakup because we were never together, but it was more of a oh, I lost that person. Yeah. That hurt deeply, right? And so for that to happen, and then for me to like multiple days just go without really eating and like kind of like just down. Like I couldn't sit there and work on my work
Yeah.
in a positive way. I would sit there and just like half do my work. Like I went through a season and I'm out of it now, luckily, thankfully, and
And most, and if it, I'd say a teacher that that knows that they're there for that reason. Like, I know that I'm called to be a teacher for that reason. Like,
yeah.
I know that the Lord has got me there to be a light, and that's it. Like, sometimes I wonder a lot, but I'm like, are you sure you want me here? But when you have a teacher that knows that that's why they're there, they'll notice those things. And they're the ones that are going to be like, "Are you sure you're okay? Are you, you're not haven't been yourself lately, or
so
your grades are dropping." So I would definitely encourage anyone who is having those thoughts that when you reach out to a teacher, we're able. And Sam Houston is a very, very unique school. We have pilot program that provides a licensed counselor for free for any student. And so it's incredible that we have this opportunity, and like we're able to give you the help that you need that most parents, I mean, if your insurance doesn't cover it, they're not going to want to spend $150 to $200 per counseling session. So we have a free service that we can provide for students who are struggling. And I just think it's, like we can get you the help that you need. Like, and no one at school has to know about it because it's all very done discreetly, through the library, and nobody would know.
Okay, I have another question.
Yeah. I paused because I knew she was about to speak.
That's right.
I just felt it.
Yeah. So have your beliefs about God changed throughout your teaching career? Like, has your teaching kind of influenced your beliefs about God? And if so, how?
I would say that God has influenced my teaching. And I think early on in my education career, he taught me how every student is different and how everyone's going to learn differently. And he taught me how to find the unique, beautiful gifts in each student, even when they can't see it, or that could get lost because of behavior. So I typically don't have behavioral issues within my classes, because they want to take my class, but I think the other reason is because when I do have a student who is behavioral, like they're just constantly making bad choices, that to me is a red sign that, or like a flag that there is a deeper issue there, and that we're gonna work on that, because you're just acting out because you want attention in some way or shape or form. And so I think that the Lord has taught me that that some students are going to be more challenging to teach because they need more love. They need to know that they're wanted.
I think it's so amazing that you decided to become a teacher out of all things.
Well, I didn't really decide to be a teacher.
Oh, really?
No, I did not want to be a teacher. I went to college and laughed at my friends that were going in education, and I was like, I'm not doing that. And I got a whole nother degree.
What did you get? What was the degree?
It was Family Consumer Sciences,
okay,
with a concentration in fashion merchandising.
Oh.
And I had no idea, and that wasn't even the degree that I wanted. It was just the degree that I had the most hours in. And by 4 years of not knowing what I wanted to do with my life, the advisor was like, well, you could graduate in this because you keep coming back to this department. And I was like, okay, get me out of here. So my last year, I just filled my schedule with more of those classes. So I got a degree and didn't have a clue what I wanted to do with my life. And then I went on a bunch of mission trips in 2009, and I was in Africa. Yeah, I went all around, and I was in Africa, and I was teaching some little African kids The Hokey
That's where
Pokey.
those pictures are from?
Huh?
I didn't know those were
You
like
didn't know that?
personal pictures. I thought they were just like pictures from the internet that you posted. I didn't
Yeah,
know
those are
No,
my
those are-
trips.
those are
Mhm.
missionaries.
right by your door?
Yep,
Missionaries
right by the
trips.
door. Those are my
Oh,
trips.
okay.
So I went to Belize
So
and I
plus
went
you
to
never,
Guatemala
kinda
and
put two and two
Africa.
together.
Yeah, I never put two and two
And
together. It was
I
just-
was actually in Kenya, and I was in a field with probably 600 children doing the hokey pokey, and this doctor that was there, because we were on a medical mission trip, and they had to use the schools for triage, and so I would take the kids out of the school and go into the field and play games with them all day and teach them about Jesus, and then we'd come back in, and that's why I was there, like, because I was not medical at all. And this one doctor came up to me and he said, well, you must be a teacher. What grade do you teach? And I laughed. I was like, ha, I'm not no teacher. And he's like, well, you should be. And so for the rest of the trip, I was like, was that what I was supposed to do with my life?
And you end up loving it.
And
didn't you?
I really started to seek the Lord in that. And he confirmed it about 6 months later. I
Good job. It's
went
same.
to McNeese and got my master's in education and never
Mhm.
looked back. And now I'm like, of course. And he didn't use my first degree and let it go to waste, because when I went to finish grad school, you had to student teach.
Mhm.
And they said, well, you have to student teach in your undergrad, and that's facts. And I was like, oh, I thought I was going to do math, like middle school math. I was like, oh, well, I could do facts. That's easy. Like, I'll do baking for a semester, whatever, and then I'll go do middle school math. And so I student taught with Miss Jolie, actually, and fell in
Miss
love with the
Jolie?
facts
Oh,
department.
Oh, I know Miss Jolie. Never
Yes,
mind.
in the library.
Okay.
And I fell in love with it, and I never left.
That's
So
amazing.
so he doesn't use anything. So
Imagine
he
that.
makes all things good for
Imagine
those who
that.
love the Lord. I had no idea I was going to be a teacher, but he knew I needed to be a facts teacher. So he had me first somehow stumble upon the facts degree.
Ooh, yeah, you might wanna-
And it was
Thank
only
you.
because I had so many hours in that.
Imagine you never became a teacher. Imagine you never got to meet
I
me,
would have never known
or
that
got to
amazing
do
chocolate
this,
cake
like,
recipe.
or go out on those, like, amazing journeys, like writing a book
Well,
and doing all that.
When I had graduated, I got a job at the golf course at LaBerge. Like, I was just like a manager because I needed a real job, and they had me as like the buyer for like all the stuff. So I was able to use like the fashion part of my degree, but it was so empty. Like I felt like there's more to life.
Yeah.
Like I felt like I'm supposed to do something with my life, but I don't know what it is. So I'm going to quit, and I'm just going to go on mission trips for a whole year. And that's what I did.
Damn.
I would work a little bit, and then I'd pay for a trip, and then I'd come home, and then I'd work a little bit, and then I'd go on a trip. So
I'd like to ask you the next question.
Okay, this is actually a question for both of y'all.
Oh,
So I want to know your personal definitions on unity.
okay. Let's
Okay.
go with her first. 'cause
Okay.
I want to tell my
I
after.
think unity is when the body of Christ can come together, the arms, the legs, the mouth, we all are different parts of him, and he uses all of us in different ways. And so I believe that unity is us all coming together and serving him and joining together and allowing us to have that common thread amongst one another.
How do you? So first of all, before I answer the question of what what I believe unity is, what exactly do you mean by, like, do you want me to give you my godly world, my godly view of it, or my worldly view?
Mix them together.
Okay, this is gonna be interesting. So unity to me means like more than just a community. It means that whatever community you are in, God's a part of, right? And unity is something that you can only get when every part and every machine inside of the community cogs, right, all work together, right? And they have to work together, and the glue that sticks them together is Jesus.
I agree with that, actually. That's a great way of putting it.
Hmm.
Yeah. Do you have any more than that, or?
No, that's what I've got.
Okay,
That's my
okay.
definition.
Okay. I would like both of y'all
Okay.
to share a specific moment where, like, you felt most connected with God, like wherever you were just in a moment and you just felt like connected, like you just instantly felt it.
Here we go first.
Oh yeah, you want me to go first, so you could be thinking.
She knows. She knows. She knows.
Okay, I have multiple ones. Gosh, there's so many, but I think the reoccurring theme in all the times that I have felt so connected with the Lord is when I've been silent to listen to what He wants to tell me. And I've been diligent in honoring my time with Him. So I won't have some of those like profound moments if I'm not in the Word and I'm not seeking Him and I'm not using my time wisely. But when I am seeking Him, it may be that a scripture bounces off the page and it just pierces my heart and I know that He is talking to me. He may send a friend to tell me something. And one, for an example, we were at a friend's of our house and we were watching football. This was, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago. And we're all sitting around. Everybody's having different conversations. And one of our friends, Anthony, starts telling me about Jonah and the whale. And he was like, you know Jonah and the whale, right? And I was like, well, of course I know this story. This is Payne's favorite story in the Bible. He goes, but have you ever read past him going to Nineveh? And I was like, nope, sure haven't. I usually stop after that I don't ever read past that.
Because that's where most people, end
right.
that
And
story.
he proceeds to tell me this story about how the Lord or how Jonah is arguing with the Lord and he's mad at him because he's giving these people of Nineveh grace and mercy and he's forgiving them. And he's like, who are you to say who deserves my grace and mercy? And as Anthony is telling me this, it was like I could hear God speaking to my heart because I had been in a situation where I had someone in a long time ago in my past had hurt me, and some of those conversations had come up, and it was almost like I kind of still had a grudge in a way, and the Lord was like talking to me through Anthony and like saying, who are you to say who I have mercy upon? And I was like, oh man, He is so talking to me right now. And I mean, I had like this deer in headlight look. And Anthony was like, are you listening to me? I'm like, yes, I'm listening to every word, but I cannot, I feel like the Lord is, hang on a minute. Like I had to take a deep breath and be like, holy moly, he has put His thumb on something in my heart that I have got to let go. And I feel like it was just a way for me to be able to surrender those, I don't know, maybe thoughts of like unforgiveness or something. Like, I don't know. I just thought it was beautiful because then I was able to look at so many situations. And then I was able to have a conversation with somebody the next day about, I know that person has hurt you, but they deserve mercy too. And I was able to share and I was like, oh my goodness. So the Lord, I feel like because I was seeking Him and being diligent and wanting to hear what He has to say, that He'll use people like our friends, or He'll use scripture, or He'll use a sermon, or He might use this podcast for someone.
I sure hope He does.
I feel like that those are those profound moments. That's a good question.
Actually, whenever you said about how it was whenever you were silent listening to Him, I thought about I mentioned how I went to this Pentecostal church and I was in the youth group for a month or two, or it was 3 months, and the youth pastor there actually gave a small sermon to us, and he was like, you can pray to Him all you want, but I just want y'all, next time you pray alone in your room, I want you to give a couple seconds. And what I do is he's like, what I do is I sit on a chair and then I pray and then I put my hands out like this and I just close my eyes and I just let Him run through me. And
if you mind, can you give me the question again?
Oh, I asked her
to
share
how is God
to share a specific moment where you felt most connected with God.
Yeah.
All right, I'm about to.
No, I think that's a great posture to sit because you're saying, Lord, I'm here.
Yeah. You're like, give me,
like help me receive what you want to teach me and show me. So I think that's awesome.
I'm about to go really heavy, not like heavy, but like
is it the same one
in my faith with God.
Is it the same one that I remember we talked about this a little bit in the youth group at the UMC. We kind of bounced on this on one of the devotionals about whenever you're really connected with God.
No, so this will actually be a different time. This will be the time where I started all of this. When I started like my ministering journey, I'll put it to you that way. I had a hunger for something.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was. I had a hole in my heart. I just got like destroyed, pretty much heart wise. And so I needed something. And so I went to the pumpkin patch and whatnot, and I eventually met Miss Kathy and whatnot.
I love Miss Kathy.
And we eventually did all those things, to set up this youth group thing. But what's the main moment that I became like resonated with God really was the moment I immediately started going to there and preaching. I felt like there was something in my heart that just flowed through me, and I was like, I truly have so much love for God and so much love for people that it's insane.
Yeah. And so obviously I joined the UMC youth group way after Sam, but I started helping him with the devotionals because I love writing. Like, I'm definitely, like I said before the podcast started, we were talking about it. I was like, if nursing doesn't work out, I'm going to be an English major. I could like pump out an essay in like an hour and it could get 100 on it, I think that's just something that I'm really good at and I really enjoy. But I helped him with the devotional because I was really scared to meet new people, and he obviously decided to invite me on the day that all the wrestlers were there. And so it was just a ton of people from our school, and Sam was like, I'm going to write the devotionals, and I was like, can I help? And he was like, yeah, sure. And we just went and sat in a room, and like just seeing him able to just write like that, like, no offense, Sam, you're not too good at when it comes to like English schoolwork. Like, I kind of yeah, okay, not that way, but like I know that you struggle to like find like what to write about, and it was quick. And
because when the Holy Spirit's on it, he will use anybody, any willing vessel, and he qualifies the called. So it doesn't matter that you don't have some crazy great English background, because that's why he's paired you up with Nevaeh.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like when I do those sermons and whatnot, there's so much I want to say about my love for Christ. Yeah. I have so much. I just want to scream it at the top of the buildings that I love Jesus Christ. Like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I love him so much. It's insane. I want my time. Come on now. Give me a break. I know my time.
Hey, it's good.
Good.
No, I'm very proud of you. And I think that that's amazing. And you're a true walking testimony of when he calls someone to do something, he's going to equip you.
Yeah. By the way, when do you need to go? When do you need to go? You said you had like a specific time.
I mean, I just told Brian sometime around 7:30, 7:45.
So, okay. We'll hit you off. What time is it right now on the clock? I can't see exact. All right. We'll wrap it up and then
we can talk further afterwards.
Yeah, we'll talk further. I'm going to get her on it.
You can come in.
I have some questions for her.
Okay.
This is the real reason you're here.
Yes. Let's go.
So you want me to close what we've talked about?
Kind of.
Just
wrap
give
up?
Any advice to anyone who's watching? I know there's only 5 people on, but there's 41 views. There's like, and we're going to clip it later. So
yeah.
More.
I would just to kind of recap everything that we've said, man, put me on the spot to wrap it up. Let's see.
We'll wrap it up with like a prayer with you, and I think that's a good topic to end.
Okay. Yeah, I'll end on this, and then I can always come back to further.
Obviously, we'll do a part 2 probably.
To discuss, but something that when we talk about like the negative thoughts, or maybe it's sin or something that you've got in your life that you can, you're trying to deal with. I'll say jealousy. That's like an easy one, because we all can battle with jealousy. It's very easy in today's society to compare yourself to someone no matter what age you are. It doesn't matter if you are in motherhood and in your bettering aging years. Yeah, I'm going to say that because I'm not old. I'm not there yet, but I am aging, and I'm not
My
20
mom's
anymore.
obviously
Looking like
in
you're
And I
in your
wish I
20s.
was. Huh?
Looking like you're in your 20s.
Yes.
Let's go.
Oh gosh. But you know, I feel like or if you're in high school, oh gosh, I feel for you guys. I feel for this age group in college, like age. Oh man.
We take ACTs in 2 weeks.
Being jealous is just it can come in and it can sneak in very quickly. So when that happens, I have learned this from listening to different preachers, but really started like doing this in my day-to-day life. I like to call it like flip the script. So let's say there's someone in particular that I find I'm annoyed with, or like I get aggravated with, and it's typically because I'm jealous. You know, if it's I'm not really on social media right now, but if I was and I kept seeing some things, like I know what y'all know what I'm talking about. Like
Yeah,
it's like
I know
you
what you're
become
talking
jealous of someone because you wish you had what they had, or you wish you were part of what they had, or there's something about them that makes you wish that you had that, or that you were that, or you know, I can't.
I think I'd like to say this. For me, there's this
Envy.
dude who writes music. His name's Forrest Frank. I wish I had the platform that he has. Like,
Right, and so, but if you allow
right?
those jealous
it's
thoughts
just like that.
to kind of like take over your mind, then you really start to like you start to talk bad about them, or
Oh, I would never.
you know what I mean? Like you start to like wish, I don't know, like you just when you were
Resent
jealous, do what?
You start to resent them.
Yeah, you start to resent them. Okay, and so when that happens, you know your heart is no longer in the right place, and so what I have learned is that when I can identify when I'm seeking the Lord and always asking Him to show me, like, am I jealous of anyone, and if I am, please bring that to my attention so I can deal with it. But let's say there would be someone I'm
There
jealous
definitely is
of.
a blur line between what you think is jealousy and what is actual jealousy.
Right. Well, when He puts His thumb on it, he lets you know
Yeah,
real
he
quick.
definitely does.
And when I realize that I'm jealous of someone or something or some ministry or something, you flip the script. So you do the exact opposite of what the devil is wanting you to do. The devil wants you to think those negative thoughts about yourself and to compare yourself. And he wants you to wish that you had what they had, or you wish that you were them, or you were experiencing what they got to experience. So instead, you pray for them. Like you bless them.
I know.
And you pray blessings upon them, and you pray for their kids or their siblings or their parents. Like you pray for their situations to increase and to multiply, and for them to get, something. I think in high school, like there's I'd say two people going for the same position. Maybe it's captain of something, or you're going out for, I don't know, you're like in some type of ballot race off and you have to vote. Okay. If you secretly are wishing bad things upon that person or thinking negative things about that person, you're jealous. And so in that moment, you have to identify, like, okay, I'm jealous. That is not what the Lord wants. So instead, I pray that they do win. Or I pray, even though you still want to win, but you flip it. You want to see them succeed, and you lay down your desire for the Lord, and you pray for them, and you wish good things for them, or pray for them for good things to come, and you're kind to them. You go out of your way to be nice to them, and that will distinguish, or it will like put out that jealous fire in you. Like it like kills it. And then that person is no longer a person of threat to you because you're not jealous anymore. And you can literally pass them knowing that you've prayed for them, and then maybe they did win, or maybe they did get whatever you wanted. And then I also feel it's important that if there are people on social media that you follow that make you feel bad about yourself, you got to just delete them. You can't follow them because they're making you're jealous of what they have or what they do or what they look like, and it's not healthy. So you have to remove that. Yeah, like if you're feeding that jealousy, the devil is telling you all these bad negative things because he wants you jealous. And so if you're constantly looking at all these people on social media that are nothing like that you need to be like feeding your brain with or feeding your heart with, and it's just like you're buying into that lie. And so but it's flip the script, like flip it. So like if you have a tendency to maybe your sin is, I don't know, gossip. When you catch yourself in that, you have to stop and be like, you know what? I bless that person. And you start praying for them, and obviously you have to ask for forgiveness, but in that process, like you flip it, because it's the exact opposite that the devil wants, and it loses power. It no longer has power over you. That sin of gossip or jealousy, and maybe it's a sin like drinking or I don't know. There's a million other things that teens can battle with. But if there's a certain group of friends that when you're around them, you want to drink and you want to do the things that you're not supposed to do. Well, you've got to quit going over there and quit hanging out, but you can pray for them. And then you surround yourself with people that aren't doing those things. And then y'all have fun with other ways, and it loses the power over your life.
Definitely.
And also letting someone know that you struggle. Because if you're not telling someone else that, hey, I have a problem with this. Like, I can't watch this, or I can't do this, or I can't go over there. You have to be able to tell somebody so that way they can be your accountability partner.
I feel like jealousy is something that at some point that I definitely had a problem with, like for sure. I just constantly think about this one time where some dude like I go onto Instagram, right, and let's be real, Instagram really isn't good for you, and for your image and jealousy especially.
Right. That's why you just gotta delete all those people.
I went onto Instagram and I saw this dude with it seemed like a perfect everything, perfect life, perfect girlfriend, perfect everything, and I feel like what that really did to like my self-conscious was like say I need all those things, but I don't. What I need is him.
And that's just a highlight reel of that guy's life, because he's not perfect, you know.
That's the that's the
what
that's
you
the
have to
part
realize
I had to
is
realize.
like people like whenever I personally have an Instagram account, but it's like private. I only let people that know me in real life follow it. But like still, I only am like, oh, that picture looks good. That picture looks good. I never put the ugly pictures or like the pictures of like the bad things. I only put good
It's
things
definitely
on
a picked apart life is what I like to call it. A picked apart life.
Yeah.
Yep.
They like just looked at their life and they're like, that looked good, that looked good, that looked good, and they just left out all the bad parts. But like everyone on Instagram, like all those influencers,
and it does get old. There was this one girl I used to follow years ago, and she got on there and her hair was falling out because she was so stressed because of the demands that the Instagram algorithms and all the things have to take place for people to see your views and all that. And she like got on there and said, I'm leaving. Like, I'm done. Like, I can't do this because it's not good for my mental health. And so, yeah, there are those few people that make it big. They have professional jobs as being an influencer, but it's not realistic. It's not realistic. And, my little boy loves watching, I think they're called the Outdoor Boys. I don't know. It's his dad and these kids, and they just go outside. I don't know. My husband now even watches them. And I even watch him now. And I'm like, the reason why we like him so much is because he's not all worried about, like, the superficial things that today's society worries about if you're an influencer. Like, he's got the camera, and he's just like, all right, we're going over here today. We're going to go hunting and fishing. And, like, I don't know. It's just really funny. Like, he doesn't care.
Yeah, he's doing it for fun.
He's doing it for fun. And that is, I think, something that we need to remember.
If we were on a YouTuber,
he's also taking those memories and putting them in a vault for him and his children.
Yeah.
He's at the same time everyone else is off.
Right. I mean, because he's got millions of followers now, but it's a genuine. But yeah. So I would say to wrap up, like just flip the script. I mean that can go with any sin. that the devil tries to get at you, you figure out and ask the Lord, how can I flip this? And like sooner or later, it loses power over you. You no longer feel the need to lie if exaggerating and lying about things is your sin, or if it's, I know for me, the jealousy, I mean, it's incredible the way when I can feel it, the comparison to creep in, and then I start praying for that person, and then like it has no power, because that's why Jesus died. Like, he died for us so that way we could be free, and that we're not bogged down by sin. We can be free of these things. We just have to learn how to do that. And so,
I think it's truly amazing that you are able to realize that, because us as teenagers, we're so ignorant, right? None of our faults, right? We just haven't lived the life that, many of you adults have already lived. And we just go throughout life like, oh, we're jealous of this person, and that's how it should be, because, oh, this person has more than this and more than what we have. And, I feel like adults have such more, like, a better sense of, like, how to deal with that than we do. And I think it's truly impressive.
I feel like, we have lived, but we still battle the same things you battle.
But also, I feel like it's also, like, a thing where it's, like, us teenagers are, like, in high school, we're surrounded by gossip. That's all that, like, high school really is, especially Sam Houston, if I'm being honest. Like it's
everywhere. It's not
everywhere,
just, it's
but,
just
like,
not
I'm
our
saying,
school.
like, compared to the other, like, our schools, like, really, really bad gossip.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's everywhere, and it's easy to think that ours is the worst, but it's really everywhere.
But then, also, it's like adults aren't surrounded by a bunch of teenagers every single day, like 8 hours a day, like hundreds of different teenagers a day, because you have 8 different classes, just hearing gossip. Like, you might have friends or, like, family that gossip, but it's not like 20, 30 people's different gossip every single day. So I think it's easier to take a step back and be like, instead of being completely surrounded by it, to where it's, like, almost natural to you to just be surrounded by it.
And something that you could do in class, if you hear, I know when I start to hear something that's not positive in any way, shape, or form, and I can tell, like, we don't need to be having this conversation, I'll nip it. And I'm like, we don't need to be having this conversation. And, like, I'll just say it real fast.
That one time we almost got on.
But if you are in a situation where you have a bunch of people talking about someone else, you can silently just be praying for that person that they're talking about, and then pray for that person that's talking bad about. Because typically people that talk bad about others
are missing something.
They're missing something, and they're wanting to fill that void, so it makes them feel better to talk bad about someone else when, so you could just silently pray. I mean, I know it's hard. That's why I feel for this generation, because it's tough, definitely.
And you've definitely had your fair share of it, for sure. Like, I know in the classroom you see all sorts of things, and I think this is a good last question. What have you seen in your own classroom? Like, what have you seen God do in your own classroom?
I have seen God inspire someone to start talking about him, about Jesus himself in class, and then the whole dynamic of the class will change immediately, because everybody starts to realize that whatever they were dramatizing or they were thinking about really doesn't matter in that sense of when you talk about life and death. It's like you start to really realize, like, oh, wow, like, everyone wants to listen. I have seen God show me someone that needs some extra TLC, and to talk to them so we could get them the right help to save their life. I have seen God use students to minister to other students. I have seen him answer lifelong prayers that someone has had by hearing someone else talk about the goodness of God and how he's, and so I try to encourage when I start to hear people talking about him in my class. I try to encourage it, because I want there to be, I would love nothing more just to have a discussion about him at all times and everything. But, sometimes I do have to talk about baking cakes.
I'm definitely glad we were able to have you on, Miss Bourgeois.
Well, I'm very honored and thank you. Thank you for it was
Definitely.
fun.
We
We'll
Thank
definitely
you.
probably
have
be
to
on
get
here
you on
again.
a second time to get more thoughts
Anytime.
out of you for sure. You're an
Just
amazing
walk over.
person, and I hope that you keep on with God. And
Well, thank you. And I'm very proud of y'all.
thank you.
Very, very proud. And I just wish y'all the best. And I can't wait to see what comes of this.
Let me just make sure we're all good. Wave.
Yep. Can you wave? Okay.
Oh yeah.
No camera delays. Let's go.
Camera delay is still
'Kay.
gonna be a
I
thing
actually-
because Logitech sucks.
I actually have a question.
Okay.
We asked this on our first thing to get to know each other, and I think it's kind of
Make sure it's up to your mic to where you can hear it in your thing. Okay, good.
we didn't mic check her. Oopsies.
It's okay.
Speak loud.
Hello? Hello?
You're good.
She's good. She's good. Okay. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong questions. That's kind of okay. I asked this to Sam. Do any of your beliefs contradict each other?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Elaborate.
Like, do you ever like believe one thing about the Bible, but then maybe something in your like worldly life, like that's like not exactly following the Bible, like the afterlife? Do you like some people believe in heaven and hell, other people believe in like ghosts and spirits, but like do they contradict? Do any of your beliefs like contradict the Bible?
I would say no. Pretty much, like relatively. Like, I definitely do follow the Bible a lot. Like one of my biggest beliefs is saving yourself for marriage to glorify God, and I have kept that, and I plan to keep that. And I've even had like lost relationships over that boundary because the other person wasn't on the same thing.
Yeah.
And
Too
but I
young to be
stayed
doing
strong.
that anyways.
Hmm?
Too young to be doing that anyways, especially in high school.
Don't be busted at that.
Yeah.
So, if you had to choose like one thing throughout your life where God really showed you like this is where you're supposed to be, what would that be, and what does it look? What did it look like?
Definitely with my mom, because my mom is an addict.
Same.
Like present struggling addict. I haven't seen her for 8 years, and by the time she was my age, even younger, she was already a heroin addict and smoking and drinking and just she was a prostitute, having sex to get money for the drugs. And so I've had people tell me, and just seeing in myself, like knowing that I'm never going to become that kind of person, and I've already made that change in my life. It's just definitely shows me like I'm where I need to be, because Lord only knows where I would be if I was still with her today.
Yeah, actually, we're like really similar in
Yeah, we really are.
we were really similar in that we're like one time me and Sam were in the car after the first youth group, and like I was talking about how recently like I haven't really felt like people were proud of me without me getting straight A's or like my academics.
Me all the time with straight A's.
No, literally, like I'm freaking out because I have a 92B.
Same.
It's like, and then the stick pin's like, I'll just raise it up a point, like don't panic, but I'm still panicking on the inside. But Sam was like, I'm proud of you for not becoming your dad or your mom. I'm proud of you because I see you here today. Like, almost made me cry in his car.
But still, even sometimes,
Yeah, I didn't expect someone to say that to me.
with
Yeah. Yeah. And then like it really actually made me realize, I was like, yeah, I'm not sitting, I didn't abandon my kid 12 hours after she was born. I'm not an addict. You know, there's, like I was saying, there's stipulations. My mom is very open with me with like all my paperwork and stuff, and the custody paperwork. I actually like have access to all that from like a very young age. She never like hid anything. She answered all my questions, and like she recently told me like, Nevaeh, there's like stipulations as to like whether they can see you or not, and there's a reason that your dad is every so often in your life whenever he's clean, and there's a reason your mom's never met you, and the stipulation is that they have to be clean and sober. And I've never met my mom or anyone from my mom's side because of that. And I'm actually kind of grateful. Like, I've always been curious, but it's like, I'm kind of grateful I never met them because I don't
feel
know.
like God did that into your life.
Yeah.
God definitely put
100%.
that, because in my like I've gotten to know both of you, you know, and you know, for her, I'm very proud of her for what she's been able to accomplish and do within Jesus Christ. And just honestly, it's been amazing to see how much you've been able to grow. And Ashlyn, I don't know much about your mom and dad, right? You haven't really got that deep yet.
We can save that for a rainy day.
We will. But all I know is that I'm proud. I'm proud of who you are and who I see today. there's someone much more than anyone, or even your own grandparents. You know, there's someone much more in there that God is willing to bring out, and I can't wait to see.
And I feel like, Nevaeh, how you said that, like, when Sam said that he was, like, proud of you and everything, you were, like, almost crying. I still feel like I have a lot of people tell me that. I'm not boasting, but I'm just being genuinely honest.
Yeah, no, same.
I have a lot of people tell me that, including my own grandparents and, like, my friends and my small group leaders and, like, Sam, like he did, like, 5 seconds ago. But in my brain, it's still hard to accept that.
Yeah.
And so I still think about that. And so, like, with my grades and, like, with the choices I make and everything, it's still in the back of my mind of, if I do this, if I make this decision, am I going to go on the same path as my mother did?
Yeah, and also, like, it was kind of different for me because I'll say something like that, or, like, they'll say, like, oh, I'm so proud of you for doing this. But Sam was really the first person to be like, or they'll be like, oh, no, I'm proud of you, and then, like, not elaborate. Sam was, like, the first person to really be like, I'm proud of you because you're not this person. Right. Like, not, I'm proud of you for, like, doing or getting an A on that project. I'm proud of you for going to that place. But it was like, I'm proud of you for being who you are. And that really hit me because I also have that same problem when it's like other stuff, but it's like that like hit me. Like, I don't think you realize, like, I was like tearing up. Like,
It's true. True story.
And then he played this little game.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
They still can't hear you. We need to get a mic on this guy.
Sam, go to Best Buy and buy a 4th mic right now.
Nope.
Right now.
What she's saying is that we're gonna end up like checking ourselves every single day of our life.
Because she's still 25.
Yeah, not in a bad way. She was just saying how. Yeah, and that's important to do so.
Justice for Gotham.
Yeah. What?
Get supplies.
This guy. Okay.
I feel
we
like a
can't just
major
get
third
off,
wheel right now.
We can't just get off topic like that. So in my personal life, I've seen.
Yeah, there's a. I think it was just more of like a.
Was there ever a legit question in the comments?
No, just the not so legit question.
Shame, shame.
A lot better than last week.
Probably.
I'm definitely a little bit more energized. I'm sorry if my voice sounded a little bit different. I'm trying to cover up the fact that I don't feel too good right now.
I feel like, so I know you're saying that, but I want to like kind of put this towards both of y'all. What in your life do you feel has led you to the point to where you are today through God?
Definitely the fact of thinking I need to, like, breaking the family curse, as I like to call it, because on my mom's side, my mom, her brother are drug addicts. Her other brother, her other sister are gay and don't really believe in Christianity. And so it's kind of like a rough little side of the family. So I like to say that I'm like breaking the family curse. But that's just genuinely because I want to make a better life for myself, and I also want to make a better life for my children. Like, I refuse to turn out like my mother and treat my children the way she treated me, and continues to treat me to this day. Like, even if, God forbid, something happens to where I cannot see my children, I am not going to go 8 years without calling. Like, I'm not going to not call them and say happy birthday. Like, I'm not going to replace them with another family, you know, and blame other people for her decisions. You know, like, I refuse to do that because I know even if something does happen and they are taken from me, that is his plan and that is for a reason. Like, that kind of thing.
And we're, like, I believe that exact same thing. I like to say, like, I'm the black sheep of the family. It's like...
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
yes.
No. The one that raised me, like my grandmother, before she raised me, she had 3 sons. My dad, my uncle, and my Uncle Tommy. My Uncle Tommy died of a drug overdose at 18. My uncle's like currently in prison, and like he has a life of drugs. My dad, obviously, we all know. My mom used to take like a bunch of prescription pills, and my dad was telling me like she would like shoot up, like she was a drug addict as well. She would like shoot up her kids to get them high with her. And then like my grandpa, like my biological grandpa, they were like the drug dealers of the neighborhood. And so like my immediate family, and then my aunts and uncles, my cousins, like so many of my cousins have like died in a ditch recently because of fentanyl. Like there was like 4 different funerals last year just because of drug related things. Miss Marla cameo. But it's just, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be, I look around me and my family every single day, and I'm like, I know what I don't want to be. I use them as role models, and I'm like, even my uncle, like my uncle calls me and takes care of me more than my own father. Like he will give me, like he like offered money for my prom dress and all that, and he's in prison and a drug addict, and he calls me like almost like at least once a week whenever he has money on his like books to be able to call. He'll call me and be like, hey, how are you doing? Like, are you good? Like before my dad, thankfully he talked to me again after a while, not speaking to me, kind of scaring everyone. He was like, if you need money for a prom dress, I'll like save some money up for you, like I'll send it to you. And honestly, like he lived with us for some time. Like he's like the only reason we kind of got through paying the bills for a couple, like he's the only reason we still pay the bills, because we use his social security money for the bills. Like he honestly takes care of me more, and he's like, he'll literally call me and he'll be like, I want you to use me as an example for what not to do. And I love that he's self-aware, but it's also kind of sad because he knows and he still does it. But addiction's hard.
Yeah, addiction is such a hard thing because in our brains, because we are not addicted and we are the children of the people with addictions, we're like, okay, it's not that hard. Like,
it's never going to happen to us.
Like, it's not that hard. Number one, it's not that hard to get clean, but we also think, okay, it's not that easy to get addicted. But with a person who has an addiction, it is impossible.
You pick up one cigarette, boom.
It's done.
And
like,
that's
it
why
is genuinely impossible, and it is genuinely one of the hardest things someone can ever do is to get over an addiction. Whether it be drugs, alcohol, pornography, whatever it is, that addiction is going to haunt you for the rest of your life, even if you get over it.
Yeah, and that's why, like, all of my friends are like, oh, we're going to the after party, or like all this stuff, and I'm like, I'm not gonna pick up a drink. I'm not gonna, maybe whenever I'm 21, I'll have like a glass of wine. But that's like, it. I'm not gonna pick up anything. I'm not gonna do anything. There's a reason that things are until they're 21. There's a reason for that, and it's because our brains are still developing. And we recently, for gym, we had this cop come and give like an assembly.
Yes, Popo
Clo. He was giving an assembly about vaping and how this person who was like in her 20s had a lung age of 70 because of vaping.
Yes.
And that he found, and like he was like, I have 2 things for you. Like
what about the kindergartner that had 2 vapes at school?
Like he was like, just keep it away from your siblings because they're gonna look at you and they're gonna want to be like you, and they're gonna see, they're gonna be like, oh, like it's okay because my sister's doing it or my mom's doing it. Right. There was a kindergartner caught with 2 vapes on her, vaping away because like I guess like a sibling or some family member did it around her.
She knew nothing. She
didn't know that she was doing anything wrong. Like she thought, oh, my sister's so cool, or like I don't know what the story was. She thought she was like just using her role models. And
I feel like just being on the topic of role models, I feel like even though I wasn't brought up in the church, that the Lord has always been with me because I witnessed my mother do so many things, and I was what's it called? Like those things were available for me to do. Like they were right there. Like on this table right here where the mouse is, something would be there, and I could have easily picked it up.
You had the integrity not to.
But like there was always something in me, even though I was so young. Yes, even though I was so young, 4 or 5 years old, I still knew that like.
My mom like smoked cigarettes, and I was like she never like allowed me to do stuff, but she'll be like, hey, can you hand me that box or something? And I feel uncomfortable touching a box of cigarettes. Like I like, that's just me. Like she also was like, you don't touch this, you don't do that, but she made sure, she was like, you're not gonna do any of that. Like it was just like whenever I touch it, like even to like hand it to her or something like that, because like she's like driving, I don't want her to like crash us. And honestly, I'm kind of glad that she does that instead of all the other stuff she did. And I'm really thankful, like how you were saying you think God's with you. I'm very thankful that I never had to see my biological mom do that.
Right.
Or like whenever my dad, we moved to Pearland with him, my mom recently told me, she was like, yeah, he was high that entire time. He was not sober for a single day in that house. And I'm kind of glad because he kind of stayed in his room and I stayed in my room, and we like barely crossed paths. And I think that was honestly him, because he knew that I wouldn't be able to stomach that, because I'm such a loving person and I see the best in everyone. And it's just like seeing someone I love go through that, I just wouldn't be able to. And also, it's like my dad. Like, I love my dad. I could never imagine him like that. I'm also incredibly grateful that he decides to stay away. Like, he doesn't come all high and, like, I don't know what he does exactly, but I know that he's addicted to something. I know he's sober now because he has to for his job. But, and I'm proud of him for that. But it's just, like, he chooses to stay away whenever that happens. And I'm incredibly grateful for that.
I know that Ashton here is more, like, in her faith than you are.
Yeah.
Right? She's been in it for a while. But I feel like from what I've been able to tell, you definitely have the same hunger as she does. You're just not, you need to, like, I don't know. I feel like the flame is there. It's just got to be sparked a little bit more.
I feel like it's going to take me a little bit, because it's like everything.
It also depends on who your community is at school. And it also is hard at home not
Find a
having.
good community. As you have in UMC, sorry, I need to be closer to my mic so they can actually hear me. As you've been in, like, UMC and whatnot, I feel like the community you have here is amazing and good. But definitely, if you can find, like, people in your own class who you can, like, talk to God about, that would be amazing for you.
But it is also hard. There's two different perspectives here, me and Nevaeh and Sam. Me and Nevaeh do not have Jesus-loving parents in our home.
Yes.
My mom was
Sam does.
My mom was very
And
much
so
like
it's difficult whenever you live there and in between your four walls, you're not being fed into constantly. Like, you will talk about, hey, I read my Bible today, and, like, this is what I talked about, and, like, church was so good. And you'll get a, like, that's good. Like, you're not having someone pouring into you and, like, supporting you. Like, me personally, I'm dropped off to church every Sunday, every Wednesday. I am dropped off. They do not participate in that. They say they're believers. They are, but they do not have a relationship, so I'm not being fed into. Excuse me. And so that's why it's important to have a good community at school, because that is, like, your second home. You're there 8 hours of the day. And, like, if you surround yourself with non-Jesus loving people, it's going to kind of, like, counteract.
Yeah.
Like, with what you're, like, striving. Like, yes, I like to say, if you only eat on Sundays and Wednesdays, you're going to starve.
Yeah.
And so you need to find a good community, because as the word says, iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
So, like,
me and Ashton are actually, like, very similar in our upbringings.
we didn't know this until today.
Yeah.
I have such a
That's
different...
actually why I love this podcast, is because the reason we kind of called it, I kind of came up with the name of Bridging Beliefs, if we're being honest.
This guy.
This guy.
Okay, I'm sorry, but the thing is like, one of us will come up with an idea and then we'll approve on it and we'll build on it.
Right.
So, like, every single, like, thumbnail or, like, all of the like, little things we send out is, like, one of us will work on it, and then either Sam will be like, oh, but we can do this instead, like, we can use this font, and I'll be like, oh, you center that, and then it's like
fonts.
It's a collaboration. Apparently the fonts were too girly for this thumbnail, and then he had to change them.
Well, he's outnumbered, so suck it up.
It was beautiful. Anyways,
wait, can we talk about the fact that, like, Jesus literally has our entire life planned out? That is so... That literally tickles my brain anytime I think about it, because I can look back on my childhood. This might be a little deep, but oh well. When I was little, my stepdad, in my room, I didn't really have a lot. I slept on a bare mattress, but we would play this game. So he would say where he would bury me in the covers, and I would freak out. Like, I would freak out. I couldn't breathe. I was screaming. I was crying. But he thought it was a game. I didn't know what that was. As I got older, I realized if my grandparents had not taken me out, I would be used. Like, to have people have sex with me so my parents could get drugs. Yes, what Miss Marlowe said, I would be bought and sold. And
great, you're here now.
Yes, I'm so fortunate and grateful for everything that has happened. But as I get older, I realize these things that have happened, and I realize
it's all planned.
Oh my gosh, like, this is all a part of his plan.
I think that's something I definitely gotta talk about real quick. I know y'all are about to speak. She was about to speak, but my Lord, has it been an insane journey that I have had planned out for me by God?
Oh my gosh,
like,
yes, by everyone. Like, the fact,
if you think about it, like, a couple of months back, I was simply just sad. I was,
Heartbroken.
heartbroken. I don't have a like dad anymore, and just so much that went into like how I felt, right?
Right.
To where I am now, it's amazing. I cannot believe that God had put you in my life, and especially my mom in my life, because
Shout out to Miss Marla.
Yeah, I love Miss Marla.
my mom
honestly.
has truly made this path of God that I've been walking on an amazing journey. I cannot have done it without her.
Okay. Speaking of, I know there's only like 5 people watching this, but if you are on the fact of like, okay, my parents don't love Jesus, so that means I can't love Jesus. Wrong, incorrect. Think again.
Just because your parents
There's a
are-
prom going out right now, so there will be people who watch this later back.
Yeah, because like Sam has Jesus loving parents. They're able to feed into him. Me and Nevaeh, complete opposite.
Yeah.
But yet we are still all three walking and growing in our faith.
Yeah.
So like it's possible.
And kind of piggybacking off of what you were saying earlier about like how you look back on things. Like I lived with one of my dad's girlfriends, Miss Alicia. None of y'all will know her. She's not from around here. But she
Factual.
like mentally and like physically abused me. She's like the only person to like ever whip me. My mom never whipped me. And she like my grandma, that was right whenever she got married to my grandpa. My biological grandpa died when I was like 4. So she got married to Bubba, also known as Howard Manuel. Bubba Manuel. We call him Bubba. Everyone calls him Bubba. But they got married, and obviously like they're newlyweds. They went and lived together for a little bit, and I lived with Miss Alicia because they were in like a good school district. So I went and lived with them. And she like my mom or my grandma / mom walked in, and she saw that I wasn't myself, that I was quiet. See what I'm gonna give like a brief explanation. Miss Alicia, we had this like week-long thing, and it was like if you did bad on a test, you would have to go a week without all the stuff, and then the week after you would earn everything back. Monday, you would earn back the right to talk to everyone. Tuesday, you would earn back gymnastics because she put us all in gymnastics. She took away the ability to eat with everyone. I would have to eat alone in my room. I would have to go to sleep an hour early, take my bath an hour early. Wasn't allowed to watch TV or anything. Also, she had 2 kids that lived with me. So, like, I would see them being able to do all this stuff, like eat with them and all this stuff, and I wasn't able to do it. And then she made it seem like my dad was the one that kind of planned it all. And he didn't know about it till like a year later. I mean, a year ago when I told him. He was like, I didn't know all that. And she took away my like biological grandpa's picture I had next to my bed. She took away the tablet that my grandmother bought me so that she would be able to FaceTime me. Like, she took away everything. And I wasn't allowed to draw. I was a big art person. Like, as a kid, I wasn't allowed to draw, even a doodle. Like, I remember one time I made a doodle on like the corner of a test that I took home, and she like grabbed my arm, and I would try to run away from her, but I was on her arm, so we were just spinning in circles, and she would like whip me with a leather belt because I drew a little like twirly circle on the corner of my page. And then my grandma walked in like after a while of not seeing me in person, and like with them around me, like she would see me alone and I would be myself, and then she saw me in that house and she was like, no, and she took me out and never saw them again. And then I told my dad recently, or like I told my no one knew like exactly what happened because I was like a kid, and I was like, yeah, that all happened. And he was like, I never knew that was happening, because like miraculously every single time he was offshore.
It's the same thing as Miss Bourgeois was saying, or like y'all were saying. If you don't tell someone, no one is going to know.
Yeah, and
Yes.
and I thought, and honestly, I was like 8 at the time. I thought my dad was doing it, but he was working offshore. Miraculously, every single time he came back from being offshore was whenever my punishment would be up, and I didn't think about that because I was a kid, and so miraculously I was able to talk to everyone and I was able to eat with everyone whenever he came home.
So, do you feel like kind of growing up in that like section of your life, right? Do you feel like what I think my first question is like what was, because I don't believe we talked about this on the drive test, but I remember asking you the same question, like what was your spiritual belief at the time?
I was 8. I didn't even know who God was.
Yeah.
I didn't believe in him. I didn't know who he was. My mom, like, she read me all the Bible studies, Bible
Yeah.
stories growing up, like those little books that you
Mhm.
get for little kids. But it's like, sorry, my throat is like scratching. But it was
Excuse
just
me.
like I didn't know anything. And honestly, looking back at it now, it shaped the way that I am. And there's so many other things that happened in my life that shaped the way I am. Like, one of my cousins, like one time, I was like 9. He was moving, helping us move to Texas from Lafayette, and he like touched me. And I didn't realize what was happening. Like, he taught me to like it, and then he like literally had his girl like, and then we went back to his house after because my mom was like thanking their parents and stuff, like, thanks for helping us move all the way like 5 hours to Texas, like, we're grateful, and like paid them because like it was like a paid job. And I went and hung out with him in his room because I was 9, he was 15, and he literally had his girlfriend on FaceTime while I was there, and then he like paused the FaceTime and then like touched me while his girlfriend was on FaceTime and the FaceTime was paused. And I didn't know, thank you, I didn't know what was happening. But I look back on it now, and I talk about it so casually because it's like I already mentally went through it. I just didn't know. And so it was just like, yeah,
It's
that
insane
happened.
to see what you've been through and come out of, for sure.
Yeah. I was just like, that's what happened. Like, I was talking about it to Miss Kathy about what Miss Alicia did, and she's like, that's crazy. And I was like, yeah, it happened.
Yeah, it's like normal. Because
Yeah.
I'll talk about it and they're like, oh my gosh, I would have never known. And I was like, surprise, shut up. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like a normal thing because, like, eventually after 8 years,
Yeah.
you kind of get it.
Yeah, you're like, I'm like completely over it. I'm open about
Yeah.
talking about it. Even like right after, I've always been very open to things, and it's just like, it happened, whatever, can't
I'm
change it.
definitely not open about my things that have happened to me.
Okay. He came for Hot Pockets.
Hello, Luke.
Anyways, I'm definitely not open to what has happened to me. Like, oh, sorry, my bad. I'm for that one. I'm definitely open about what has happened to me, but I've definitely never gotten over it.
Yeah.
Like, there is so much stuff that happened with me and my dad that I'm genuinely surprised that I'm still here, right? And I may have not had for like, for how long y'all had messed up parents for, but I did have a messed up parent.
Yeah.
I definitely wasn't immune to sitting there and having a perfect family. I dealt with, of course, mental abuse, physical abuse, and I think how I was able to get out of it was simply by God. There's nothing else to
Yeah.
describe.
I actually have like a genuine question. Like, this isn't like not a question for you,
No,
but
yeah,
just in general.
ask.
But our last Bible study talking about the 10 Commandments. One of them is like to honor your parents, or like not to honor your parents, but like to obey your parents. How, like, literally, how do you do that whenever your parents are like so terrible to you? You don't want anything to do with them, or like they're a bad influence. Like,
That's a good one.
how do you do that?
The main thing is within the Bible it does say to honor your parents and mother.
I think that might, for some people, answer your question on how you said, like, do your beliefs sometimes contradict yourself?
Yeah.
A lot of teenagers think that way.
Yeah.
Like, oh, my parents suck, and they won't let me play my Xbox, and
Yeah,
and so they're like, I don't want to obey you. And like, that kind of thing. But, like,
no offense to the people who are like that, but if you're like having like full on arguments with your parents because they don't let you play an Xbox game, or because they're like, oh, you need to pick up that grade, I'm like saying this in the nicest way possible, just take a step back and look at, like, you're yelling at your parent because they're not letting you play a game. You can play the game in a couple days. Like, pick up that grade or do whatever. Like, it's like they're not doing it for them. They're like, if you pick up your A, it's not gonna like raise their pay or something. They're doing it for you.
For sure.
right. Right.
And it's somebody mic this girl up.
Yes, yeah.
Pray for him, because if I want to get to heaven, I have to pray for him.
Yeah.
So I struggle with the honor thing, because how do I answer that question for my children?
Yeah.
To honor your father and mother.
And
And I've searched the Bible for it to help me
excuse me.
to answer for them, because he's going to have that question at some point in his life, and I want to be able to help you. The most I have been able to come to with terms is God made us all for a purpose, and the way we came to be is through your mom and your dad. So we honor them. The word honor them, it doesn't say obey. It says honor your father and your mother. So they created you for a bigger purpose.
So
So
I
what she
definitely.
just
So you're honoring them.
So what she just said
The
basically is
commandment is to honor.
to honor your mother and father, and not. It never said to obey them, right? It always says to honor your father than mother. So
because they created you.
they created you, right? Um, but especially since I've had struggles with that question. How do I respect my dad? And I think the fact is I can respect my dad, but I can't obey and live with some of the things that he has done, right?
It doesn't even say respect, it says honor. God is asking us to honor.
Yeah, and I honor him for definitely being there for those 12 years. You know,
For giving you life.
I would love to keep talking to you, Mama, but you are not mic'd up.
She said that she wants God to honor. She wants us to honor God so that we can give.
Like
Let
this
the
girl
woman
up.
speak. Mic her up.
All I'm saying is that the commandment is to honor.
You're speaking
So even in
quietly.
the worst decision making that parents do, I believe in all the research I have done on the Bible, when he says honor your father and mother, even though you may not have ones that you could obey or respect, you to honor them because they gave you life, because God needed them to give you life for his purpose, for God's purpose, which is bigger than than their little job of being your parents on earth. It's bigger. All it is the life, to honor them for that life that they gave you. Thank you for giving me this life, because look where I'm at now. You know, now that I can see a bigger picture.
Actually, there's a song that talks about that. It's called "Look Where I'm Standing Now" by Phil Wickham, and it's really good. Go listen to it right now. Not right now, but when it ends.
Are you done or? I'm just asking. Okay, it's a genuine question.
Yeah, because as a parent, I still struggle with it, you know, and I know that he means that, but I want God to answer me more definitely, you know, I guess more personalized is what I'm looking for. But really, that is what it is, because I struggled also, because I was like, am I supposed to stay in this marriage even though I know it's really difficult and my kids don't need to see all this stuff? So now we share them, had shared them for 12 years, 50-50. But I told Sam, that's so you can see one way of life and one way of another, and you decide. But then mistakes were made, and now they're with me. So therefore, those questions were answered. Why you don't choose that way of life? Why you choose this way of life? Not just my way. I'm just saying you
Yeah.
choose the better choices. Like I pray for my kids to make good choices. Those things. So I'm hoping maybe you guys can get a little bit out of my
Yeah. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
my
That
searching
perspective.
for that.
Definitely.
Because
Thank
I
you.
have to search for them, because I'm trying to be a parent that can help them through every aspect of life. So I'm trying to get there before they
Me personally, best thing that's been said all night.
What'd you say?
I said that was the best thing that's been said all night.
because he gave y'all life for this bigger purpose. I mean, if there's nothing more than
Yeah.
I've seen it visually right here. You know, we can see it in a star like, oh gosh, all the stores are Christian stores, and they sing and
Benton
they give this
Boone.
beautiful gift. We can see
He's Christian.
that their parents, had them on a bigger stage. But even y'all, because y'all are going to become people that are going to function on this earth that people are going to turn to, whether it's a nurse for help, whether it's a teacher to teach, whether it's an IT guy that's going to help them with stuff to hook up their sound equipment. Heck, I have no idea. I know he's going to be upset with me because he says, Mom, that's not what I want to do. I don't know. I just know we all have this crazy purpose. I have this purpose as a clerk, and I'm just a little bitty secretary clerk. But when that person calls, they are lost, and they're trying to get their child in school,
Hey,
and they need.
we
that
just
help.
got a chat saying that they can't hear anything she's saying.
Yeah, because on the mic she's way too quiet. You didn't have it close enough to her mic.
Well, here, let me put it like.
Gonna eat it almost.
Yeah, pretty much. You
Is
gotta
that better?
appreciate
Thank you so much for
Y'all
calling.
sum me
I
up.
think
Y'all
it's
sum me
okay.
Okay,
think we're
so
good.
I think we're gonna wrap it up because it is getting a little late.
And I have to pee really bad, so.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for.
Sam said I'm not allowed to use that bathroom.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks to everyone who tuned in. Thanks to
Yes.
everyone who's going to listen to this once we post it.
And I hope everyone truly got something out of this today. And
Remember, Jesus loves you.
Yes.
so
And there's
we're gonna pray out real quick.
Oh.
Everyone
okay.
ready? All right, let's go.
Oh wait, does if anyone has any prayer requests, put them in the chat now. Does anyone in this room have prayer requests? No? Okay.
Pray for.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's pray for me and Ashlyn's families.
Yeah.
Your father.
Sure. Yes.
And anyone who's listening and what they're going through. I just want to put a quick PSA that I'm probably going to put on every single one of them. If you need help with anything, there's an email.
Miss Marla has cut out a lot, so not sure. Okay. I guess it was wonderful. All right, let's pray out. Dear God, just thank you for letting us be here today. Thank you for letting us do everything we've been able to do, and I hope that throughout this podcast, people are able to come away with something, or maybe they're just having a hard time right now, God, and maybe they needed some advice, some advice from you, dear Lord. I just hope that you're working through me to work through them, to get to them, dear Lord, through the podcast. I would just like you to pray for all of our situations. I know that sometimes we're not in the best of situations, but it can always be changed through you, dear Lord. You will show us the rightful path and the correct way. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thanks everyone who listened. Bye.